From Thiago Moises calling him the next youngest UFC champion, to Terrence McKinney thinking he's undefeatable, pro fighters have a lot to say about Raul Rosas Jr. That said, let's dive into their opinions from him, shall we? Starting with his UFC debut. Raul Rosas Jr. has been making waves for quite a while now. Everybody from fans to professional fighters is impressed with his incredible skill at such a young age. There's a lot of hype around him, and to be honest, we can all agree that all this hype is worth it after seeing his performance at UFC 282. Speaking of UFC 282, where, as you might know, he fought his first match and won, pro fighters were quick to react to his skills in the octagon as soon as he stepped in to face his opponent.
Jay Perrin in blue, Raul Rosas Jr. in black.
Jay landed a little left hook there and then a jab.
Daniel Cormier was one of the first fighters to go on Twitter and react to Rosas' match. On the day of the match, during the fight, he tweeted how it's crazy when you consider that Rosas is just 18. There is an 18-year-old kid in the octagon right now, he said, but he wasn't the only one who couldn't believe his eyes when he saw what Rosas could do in the octagon. Soon after, DC fighter Jamal Hill also took to Twitter to talk about the fighter. He expressed his disbelief at the young fighter being so strong. TF, are they feeding this kid, LOL, he said. Well, if only we knew, Jamal. Maybe we'd all be this strong at 18 then.
Absolutely real.
Thank you, OG. I appreciate that. And to everybody that's coming, you see where I'm at, come get some.
All jokes aside, just like these two, a lot of other fighters also reacted to Rosas' debut fight.
And now look where he's at.
Rosas Jr. able to slice that right leg over right into mount.
Here's what Jeff Neal said. He was very supportive of the young fighter and revealed how he'd met the young gun before his fight. The fighter went on to say that the moment he saw Rosas, he knew that he was going to be a champion.
No puede ser. ¿Qué está buscando Rosas? Quiere terminarlo tan rápido, Rafa, no lo puedo creer. Claro que lo puedo creer.
To be exact, Jeff said that the young fighter had a champ aura. Neal then expressed excitement about Raul's future in the sport, but he wasn't quite done talking about this new guy.
He should probably start trying to wrestle.
Yeah.
He made another tweet to talk about him. Bro, like WTF, he started his tweet, expressing his disbelief in Rosas' skills in the octagon. He was shocked that Rosas finished his opponent in just the first round of the fight. Neal then continued to talk about how it's even more crazy when you think about what we are all doing when we were Rosas' age.
Somebody that's up there, you know what I mean? Luke A 6, I just beat 6, so I should be 6. So who else is in front of me? Gilbert's not doing nothing. I already fought below.
Thiago Moises was another fighter who couldn't help but to appreciate Raul. He took to Twitter saying, "This kid is legit," right before calling him the next youngest UFC champion in another tweet. And with the way Rosas has been making waves and fighting, we all think that it might be possible very soon. Won't you agree?
Oh, wow, heavy shots.
Oh, good elbow.
Derek Brunson reacted to Rosas' win at the event as well. The fighter tweeted talking about how Rosas choked that boy, talking about his opponent. He then talked about Rosas, saying how he was a star born for Mexico. Brunson then talked about how he was filling out financial aid packets when he was 18, and now Rosas is making 50 grand from a single fight.
Oh, that's starting to get tight now.
If you think that there's a lot of fighters reacting to a single fight, you'd be right. It's been really long since any fighter had this big of an impact on the world of MMA, especially at the age of just 18. His age was mostly the focal point, even for Bilal Muhammad, who tweeted about how Rosas was definitely going to become the coolest high schooler. Another fighter who was quick to react to Rosas was the iconic Cody Duran. He made a reference to how Rosas asked president of the UFC, Dana White, to pay him $50,000 in bonuses for the fight. Also, he could buy a minivan for his mother so she could drive him to the UFC Performance Institute. Cody addressed the tweet to Dana, laughing and asking him to give the young guy a minivan. Honestly, everything about this is just kinda wholesome, don't you agree? This mention of a wholesome attitude brings me to another fighter. It's none other than Aljamain Sterling. The reigning bantamweight king was quick to support the young star as soon as the fight was over. The fighter reacted to the fight and called Rosas' win impressive and flawless. He also talked about how Rosas' opponent tried a few times to dominate the fights, but couldn't because Rosas didn't give him a chance. He even said that Rosas' grappling level is much higher than most pro fighters in the sport today. Damn, that coming from such a great player is one hell of a compliment, no? He comedically said that although his level is higher than most fighters, it's still not better than the UFC bantamweight champ, referring to himself. In another tweet, he talked about how he was lucky that he'd have gone to 145 pounds by the time Rosas gets to fight for the belt, saying that even he himself might not be able to win against Rosas by that time. He then wished the young fighter good luck for the future. In another tweet just moments after his first two, the fighter expressed immense confidence in the 18-year-old fighter, talking about how he'd be shocked if Rosas isn't a UFC champion by the time he turns 25. Although his UFC performance was pretty impressive to say the least, I need to tell you guys about the fight that got him noticed by Dana, and how pro fighters reacted to that. I'm talking about the Dana White's Contender Series. Although Rosas wasn't able to win his fight against Mando Gutierrez at DWCS, his performance was pretty impressive, and it didn't take long for people to point it out and appreciate it. And not to mention, he was only 17 back then, so the whole thing was pretty shocking, especially to pro fighters like Aljamain Sterling. Sterling has been supporting the young fighter even before he was part of the UFC. After his fight with DWCS, Sterling took to Twitter to talk about how entertaining it was to watch Rosas fight, and how good he is at fighting too. He then congratulated the fighter for his performance, and advised him to get OG training partners to guide him through everything before he tries for UFC championships. Gilbert Burns was another fighter who couldn't hold back when he saw how well Rosas performed in the match. He took to Twitter and tweeted about how he was impressed by the fighter's skills. In another tweet, he cheered the fighter on, in a tweet filled with fire emojis, and said that he was really happy for the kid. A lot of other fighters cheered the 17-year-old back at the DWCS as well, so let me tell you about them. Here's what they had to say. Clearly, this young fighter has already gotten on the good side of pretty much everyone in the MMA world. From fans to pros, everyone seems to be impressed about his skills in the octagon. Charles Rosa was seen cheering for the young guy on his Twitter, where he talked about meeting the kid back in Vegas. He added that Rosas is the nicest kid you could meet, but when it comes to fighting an opponent in the octagon, he's a completely different person. Chase Hooper also took to Twitter to comment on his performance, and said that he was really excited to see what the young fighter does next. And that was all about how some pro fighters reacted to Raul Rosas Jr.'s insane skills.